What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Uncaged podcast, which, as you know, it's all about the journey to the top 1%. And how do we get there? It's by becoming 1% better daily. And it's pretty comical to me because I just had a meeting today with a fellow VIP member, and we were talking about his future and where is in life specifically and what life looks like for him. And at his age, he kind of had some self-limiting beliefs going on because he felt like he should have been further along, especially being surrounded by some people that are a little bit younger than him by about a decade. And I had to remind him that there's also guys in Uncaged that are about a decade older than him, and it's all kind of a blended walk of life. And not that he was scared by any means. I'm more so relating this to our intro about becoming 1% better, by joining the top 1%, which is by becoming 1% better, because I had to check him on his self-limiting beliefs because we started to evaluate where he is as a person, both personally and professionally. And this dude is like in the top 1% as far as how much money people make in the financial realm, as far as working for someone else, as well as a company that he owns. Now, maybe not 1%, but definitely like 5%. And so it's just incredible to me to see that, like, we talk about the journey to the top 1%, and depending on who you are, if you're new here, like, that could seem like either an audacious goal or like an egotistical goal. And it's just absolutely incredible to me the more that we start to surround ourselves with like-minded men of all walks of life. As you know, if you're in Uncaged VIP, we've got guys all the way from like just now starting their businesses. Like, we got guys excited about getting their articles in corporation, all the way to, we got 3 guys in there that are run $100 million a year businesses, and everyone in between, and all different personalities and perspectives and personas. And it's just incredible. It's a beautiful melting pot. But I said all this because part of some of the transition that this guy is going to be making, and I wanted to kind of have a little bit of an anonymity here for him. I didn't want to put some of his personal business out there. Is, going back to thinking about this, like, man, this dude's been on an awesome journey to get to where he is and is extremely successful. And we started to discuss what the future looks like. And some of this is like, he's got some scary decisions to make coming up. And it was just kind of funny because they seem scary when you don't know. Right? And you don't know what you don't know until you know it. And so there are obviously insane amounts of skill sets that he brings to the table when it comes to, there's really I don't believe in self-made. Like, I believe we're all crew-made. Like, we all have something to bring to the table. We all have a skill set where we get to reign superior as far as that skill set specifically. Like, I'm a firm believer that people need to have a lane that they are allowed to run as wide open as they want and go as fast as they need to without having anyone else in their lane to hold them back or suppress them. And so, like, for that, he has so much to bring to the table, but not everything. He doesn't have all the skill sets, right? And so he really, really needs other people to be involved with this project in order to take it to that next step. And it's funny because the pathway to that top 1% is just, it's so visual to me. It's something that I've seen over and over and over again. It's things that I've been involved with to be able to learn from my mentors and my coaches and see that it's just not that scary. But it happens to be because it falls into skill sets that I possess, and it is lanes that I get to run fast in. And so it's common terminology to me. It's something that I see on a very, very, frequent basis. And so as we start to develop through this, you have these first worsts where things are the first times you've experienced anything of the sort, and it can be absolutely scary. And it's awesome on the roundtables for VIP because we get to be open and honest and vulnerable and transparent about what we're dealing with. And a lot of times you see these guys, and again, some of these guys are just now starting out to, multi-million-dollar a year producers. And again, everyone in between that are hopping on these roundtable calls. And you get to see different levels of, I don't, I don't think scarcity is the word. So don't, don't kill me over that. But like where there is fear in some of the decisions that are being made. And you get to see some of the people where you take enough shots and you understand that like some of those shots are going to be misses, right? But we're playing the law of averages here and knowing that if we shoot enough shots, we're eventually going to make it. And as we start to learn what works, we make more and more and more. And these chances that are used to be scary at the beginning become less and less scary in the grand scheme of things. And so you get to shoot your shot more. You get to take bigger, more audacious shots and things of that nature. And so that's been really incredible as we're coming through this time in Uncaged's life, where y'all know I hate like time stamping these videos, but here we are getting ready to launch this 30-day challenge that we have coming up for the Uncaged free group, as well as the VIP members. And there are decisions that I have made, am having to make, and will be making very, very soon that are absolutely terrifying. But the wild thing about this is, albeit while it is so terrifying to me, I want to say that like I am comfortable in the chaos. I am, even though this is a new threshold of scarcity that I am staring in the face, I understand that like this is mandatory to getting to the next level. Like what I am about to do is literally going to do one of two things. It's going to succeed or it's going to fail. And having that clear mind about it, this decision, because I'm making a decision to pull the trigger. I'm literally making a decision to rip the Band-Aid off. And it's going to do one of two things. It's going to succeed or it's going to fail. And that's it. And so when I get to sit with that idea, when I get to sit with that thought process that here I am in front of you as we speak, theoretically I'm scared. I'm scared, but I'm going to do it anyways. And I look back on my life and some of the huge just growth potentials and growth seasons that I've had, both in corporate America and the private sector and with my previous company and now with Uncaged. I look back and, man, it's some of the things that scared the shit out of me the most that got me to where I am today that I am so proud about, that I can hold my head high about some of the accomplishments that we've made. And it's funny because, y'all, any of the VIP members know my relationship with Jay Bird. And he's been around, since the beginning and watched my transition into private sector and watched me build and collapse businesses. And I can look back on some of these moments where you knew. And I literally called him. I was like, man, I have a feeling like the spaceship's about to launch. Like the rocket ship is about to take off. And those feelings are an incredible, beautiful feeling holistically. Like when like you're taking a shot and you feel good about it, right? It's something that you can really kind of put your finger on as like an internal like validation. Like we're about to shoot the shot, dog. And I got a good feeling about it. That's one piece of the puzzle. The other piece of the puzzle that not many people talk about is shooting that shot scared. And while I'm saying this out loud and while I was like really kind of processing what I was going to be speaking to you guys at, mind you, I want to let you know just kind of a little bit of what's going on behind the scenes is like, as I'm shooting this, like I literally just got done shooting day 15 for the 30-day challenge that literally launches in a week. I've got 100 different irons in the fire. It's super late. It's after dinner. I have been so enamored and focused on getting this 30-day challenge done that I genuinely forgot to stick to my schedule and record this episode earlier today. As ironic enough as today I was talking about, my calendar blocks and how to schedule things and how to have specific days for a specific task. But to be open and honest and transparent enough, I did also talk about when I'm in these sprints that you'll learn about when you take the 30-day challenges, my traditional schedule and my traditional, the way I just operate with my morning routines and my evening routines and being on schedule, it's different. And I do these sprints about 2 weeks out of every 12. So about 10 weeks, throughout the quarter, I am on point. I'm in schedule. I am on task. I stick to my calendar and I adhere to my time blocks. And then there will be 2 weeks where we're laser focused on the prize. And that's where I'm in today. And, it was just ironic that I was like, oh my God, I've got to get this episode done. And I was like, all right, what do we need to talk about? And I like to take all the common denominators out of stuff that I'm seeing inside the free group for the past week. I like to take takeaways from our roundtable calls and our expert calls for the week and really kind of come down with like what is in live time, which is why I've transitioned to where I'm out ahead, weeks and weeks and weeks ahead on the podcast, and it's just scheduled, is because if you're in VIP, I get to listen to what's going on and I get to record these episodes. I mean, we literally, I record these on Thursdays. Today's a Thursday. We have our roundtable call on Tuesday and our expert call on Wednesday. So it's, 24 to 48 hours. Well, at a day, because it doesn't drop until Friday mornings, that I get to be in the conversation about what people are needing, what they're looking for, and what some of these common denominators are, which is why we're having this conversation today about do it scared. Because some of the things that have been coming up is there's big decisions coming in people's lives, right? And to top it all off, my in-person meeting with one of our VIP members today, it had a lot of that common denominator where it's like, man, there's some decisions that are going to have to be made pretty soon. And sometimes the fear of the unknown can be scary enough to the point where maybe you have only one or two options, and maybe that's scary to you that you don't have more options. Whereas maybe you have a lot of options and you're terrified that you're going to pick the wrong one. Throughout this process, and even while you pick a lane to fully focus on, there's going to become situations that you have to make where you're truly going to be terrified. And I'm facing one right now. At the same time that we launched the 30-day challenge, I personally, on the back end of Uncaged, to be an operator for the organization, am absolutely terrified about. But I evaluate both options. What if it succeeds and what if it fails? And the level of growth that's going to come with Uncaged, if it succeeds, it way, way, way suppresses the fear of what if it fails. Because now, once I have come to terms with being okay with either option, if it succeeds, okay. If it fails, okay. Now I have relieved that weight and that pressure off my shoulders. I've alleviated that stress and that anxiety and those depressive thoughts so that now I can think with a clear mind, removing the brain fog, getting rid of distractions. And now I get to evaluate what's the next move. How do we make decisions now between the moment that I came to terms that we're going to do it scared, regardless. Now the thought process isn't problem focused, it's solution focused. Okay, we're going to do it. We're pulling the trigger. Come hell or high water, we're ripping the Band-Aid off, no matter what. So we've made that decision. We don't have to sit here and go back and forth. Well, what if we do? What if we don't? What happens if it succeeds? What happens if it fails? There's no more of that internal dialogue. Now we're fully focused on saying we're committing to this. Now it's my responsibility to make it as successful as possible, to give it the proper tools that it needs to function correctly, to ensure, to raise the statistics on the succession rate. I know that failure is still sitting there. It ain't changed. I can't control if it changes or not. But I can control the statistics in which we're able to add other properties and strategies into this launch to increase the succession rate. There's still going to be a failure rate. It might be 10%. It might be 1%. It might be 50%. It might be 51%. It might be 49%. But I'm not going to be focused on that anymore. I'm going to do it scared, regardless. And now that I've determined that I'm going to do it scared, regardless, I have now pulled all the power of that failure away. And again, now it's just me and being focused on that dream, that desire, that golden opportunity, the dream life that's going to create. And so now I get to be 100% focused, hyper-focused on how do we increase the succession rate of this task specifically. And again, a lot of this came from conversations that we've been having with some of the Uncaged members. They're like, fuck, man, like, yeah, we got this coming up. It's going to be rough. It's going to be tough. We know it. And we're scared. It's okay to admit, but we're scared. Okay. Have you been scared before? Yeah. Did it kill you? No. So what are you scared about? Now, how scared are you? You were at 100%. Now you're at 99%. Okay. Have you been scared before? Yep. Are you scared now? Yep. When you were scared prior and it failed, did your business shut down? No. Cool. Now we're at 98%. Right? You go down this process where you start to internalize and think back and put yourself in those shoes of when you were scared previously, making a big decision like this. It was way scarier when you're standing in front of it and looking at it. But now that you've climbed the mountain and you're looking back down on it, now it's not so scary. It's the whole same process as like when you've got this audacious memory of something from your childhood. The house was much bigger. The hill that you used to bomb was much larger. The staircase was much steeper, whatever the case was. You have all these huge memories where the largeness of the obstacle or the memory was so much larger in your head. And you go back and revisit it, and you're like, man, this ain't nothing. Well, how did I imagine it being this big? But that's because your perspective on the matter shifted. You grew taller. You grew wiser. You're more experienced. Now when you look at that obstacle or that situation, it's nowhere near as large. It doesn't have anywhere near as much clutch a hold of you in fear as it used to. Whereas it's the same situation through the personal and professional development. The first time you got rejected by a prospect, the first time you got told no from a job interview, the first time that a girl ever shut you down, right? Those pills got easier and easier to swallow as you grew. And it's not because of anything other than the fact that you have a different perspective now. It's the same level of pain. You just got stronger. So when we're going through this process and we're climbing this mountain, right? When you're focused looking up towards the peak of the mountain, towards where you're climbing, and this objection is in your way, it has now put a wall up, a defense up, right? You are now focused on this from a different perspective where it looks monumental. It is absolutely ginormous to you. Whereas once you break that wall down and you overcome that obstacle and you get past the objection and you get higher up that mountain and you turn around and you look back on how far you've come and just enjoy the view of the mountainside and the valley and where you used to be down there and just taking in, that was really loud, and just taking in how far you've come to get to where you are, and you see all those broken down walls or all those objections and obstacles that you used to go go through, but on the other side looking up, it just looked like you were never going to be able to succeed. It's a different perspective. So now for you, when you start to swallow the pill that you're doing it regardless, you're going to do it scared. Now you have shifted that perspective where you've made it past it. And now you get to look down and say, man, that's not so scary. I have come to terms with what the options are. I'm going to do everything in my power to choose the successful option. But if the failure happens, so be it. I'm earning my stripes. I'm learning from it. And so I'm going to take whatever happens here today from whatever decision that I've made, and I'm going to learn from it. Good, bad, indifferent, ugly, or beautiful. We're going to evaluate what went right, what went wrong, what we loved, what we hated. And we're going to add this to our arsenal moving forward so that the next time we come up against another obstacle like this, the fear is not there. We understand what is at stake. We understand what the reward is, and we understand what the risk is. And now we get to eliminate all of the power that negative connotation to that failure and that risk tolerance and that fear that is holding on to us. We get to eliminate that power. We get to set ourselves free from the chains that's holding us back from making the decision and pushing forward no matter what. So I don't care who you are. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care where you're at in life. I don't care what obstacle you're facing, what objection you're sitting there in front of, what the fear is. I need you to get comfortable with it. Get comfortable with the chaos and understand that no matter what, you're going to do it scared. Guys, super excited for this episode to drop because this is, again, there's a 65-inch TV behind me. I get to look myself in the face while I'm recording these, and I'm talking to myself. We're ripping the Band-Aid off. You going to rip it off with me? Guys, thank you for hanging out with me. If you like this episode, please leave me a comment, share it with a friend, but we're going to see you next week.